This program is a Creative Magic Network and Maura collaboration. Hey guys, as a part of the Creative Magic Network, today's episode is brought to you by Maura, the ambassador of happiness herself, with her podcast, Maura, Living Happy Inside Out, with reflective questions, anecdotal stories, and encouraging thoughts. Maura empowers you toward transformation, reinvention, and personal growth. So let's get to it right now.
Welcome to the Maura Sweeney podcast. Maura is an international speaker, Huffington Post contributor, and the trademarked ambassador of happiness. In 10 minutes or less, Maura weaves clever anecdotes, insightful questions, and personal stories to challenge your mindsets and enable you to live happier from the inside out. Here's Maura with today's podcast for you.
Are you living in polarity or peace? Well, if you're on a path to living happy from the inside out, today's question may help you answer that very thing. Are you living in polarity or are you living in peace? Now, generally, all of the podcasts I put together are always aimed at being evergreen, meaning that regardless of the time or season or place or circumstances that you are in, the message is always fresh, providing you with fresh inspiration. Today's podcast will definitely be evergreen, but surprisingly, it was prompted by some current events, namely the U.S. presidential election and its aftermath of protests. Earlier this week, and following the U.S. presidential election, I had an opportunity to listen to a very highly decorated, retired U.S. general. He was speaking at a local university. And of course, I was always interested, as I am, to hear all kinds of insights, especially from people that live in places that I'm not normally in. So following this conversation, it was opened up to questions and answers. And a young woman stood up to ask the general a question. She said, "General, I have been scrolling through my social media accounts ever since this election came to an end." And she said, "All I keep seeing is anger and strife and mean-spiritedness." But she said, if I could say it anyway, it's all about division. And she said, "Can you speak to us students here and give us some wisdom or advice as to what we can do to help create a United States of America?" And I'm sure there were others in the audience that felt like, wow, that's a really good question, because she was focusing in on the United States of America, not the polarized states of America. Well, surprisingly, the answer was what she was not expecting, I was not expecting, and perhaps others in the room as well. The general told her this. There were three things. Number one, we have always been a divided country. The implication being that we always will be divided. Secondly, he said, this has only been an experiment in democracy, and there have been democracies before us that came and went. And thirdly, he advised the young woman and her fellow students to go back to school, to just keep studying, and when they graduated, to work on something where they could make a difference, and he used global warming as an example. At the same time, he, I want to say, discouraged her and other students from working in areas where he felt they could not make a difference. And it made me wonder, did this gentleman believe that they couldn't make a difference in creating a more United States of America? Well, there you go. Obviously, the reason for my doing today's podcast. So it caused me to look up and consider two words, one being polarity, which obviously is what played out in American politics, the second word being peace. Let me give you a few definitions for polarity. Polarity is characterized by opposite extremes, opposite extremes. So think about a magnet, the positive side, the negative side. Or you could think about things like the North Pole and the South Pole. In general, polarity is a concentration. It shows up as groups or forces or interests, but it's a concentration of two conflicting or contrasting positions. I want you to think about that. Two conflicting or contrasting positions. What that means is that when you're living in polarity, a mental state, which shows up as a social state, you're always thinking about either or, win or lose, victory or defeat, or abuser, victim. In every case, it's this idea of either power over other people or power in which you are vanquished by others. That is the mentality of of polarity. That's the mentality of division as opposed to unity. But let's think now anew. Peace. What exactly does peace mean? Peace. It means the absence of war or other hostilities. Peace means freedom from quarrels and disagreement. Peace means harmonious relations. Peace means public security. Peace means inner contentment, calm, or serenity. And finally, peace means freedom from strife. So now that we've looked at the mind of polarity and the mind of peace, ask yourself this: what lens have I been looking through? What lens in my mind have I been looking at this world? Do I look at everything through the lens of polarity, meaning power over others, or being empowered by others who turn me into their victim? Or am I looking at everything through the lens of peace? Then ask yourself questions like this: what do I desire? What do I envision? What do I really want? And how about this one? What do I truly seek for myself and others in this world? I want to finish up by this, and I think this will give you some encouragement, inspiration, and know that we have better things ahead of us. Just recently, I spoke several times at a Florida college and had very busy and engaged groups of people that were listening in. And one of the things I did was I put up on a PowerPoint presentation the very well-known quote that came from Mahatma Gandhi. And it was this: be the change you wish to see in the world. So I asked everybody in the group, I said, is there anyone here who is seeing this quote for the first time? And just as you might imagine, in all four groups, everyone was familiar with that quote. Then I went to them again and I said, well, if we were to roll the clock back 5 years, 10 years, but I said just 5 years, how many of you 5 years ago would have been familiar with this quote? And I would say at least half the people lifted up their hands saying they had only become familiar with this quote in the last several years. So I said, well, how many of you are currently aware on social media, as well as on people's t-shirts and everything else, how many of you are aware of all of these quotes, all of these inspiring words that have been circulating out in the public domain, people looking for them, posting them on Facebook, sending them out on Twitter or on Instagram? And I said, have you noticed people doing that? And they all said, well, of course we are. And then I laughed. I said, well, how many of you have seen some great quotes coming from people that behave badly? And I think half the group cracked up. And of course they knew that there were people passing out quotes and they don't even live the very quote that they're trying to encourage other people to live by. So I said, well, do you see this as progress? And they all agreed that we were living previously in a time that no one was looking for this kind of inspiration. Now people are. So then I asked the very next question. I said, well, what would come next in the evolution of society? And they all knew the answer. What comes next is that people become the change they wish to see in the world. Better said, they become the very embodiment, the personification, and the real life examples of these very quotes that they are sharing with other people that are more high-minded and that are thinking at another level completely. I would say at a level where society advances. So I want you to think today that you too can begin to change the world in and of yourself. You can be that change you wish to see in the world, and you can actually start it by being the peace. Because when you are the peace and you are no longer looking at everything through polarity, you will be an agent that helps bring people together, that helps cultivate great new ideas, that will be a listener, that will be someone who's looking for solutions rather than more of what we've seen in the past. As you begin to look through and live through the lens of peace, not only will you feel more peaceful, but you will definitely enjoy some greater happiness from the inside out. Well, those have been my thoughts for today, but before we go any further, let's listen in because someone else wants to share with us what makes them happy from the inside out too.
It's love. It's love that makes the world go round. It's love. Love is what makes you happy, you know? There's no guilt in love, you know? Just spread the love. You make yourself happy before you make anyone else happy. Yes. It's love that makes the world go round. It's love. Love, 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 love. Love it. Just spread the love. There's no guilt in that. If everyone have love, the world will be a better place. Wamanabo! Right here, New York City, uptown. I'm spreading the love with my drum beats. New York City.
For more insights on living happy from the inside out, subscribe to this podcast. To learn more about Maura, visit her mauraforyou.com website, where you'll find videos, blogs, books, and the Foundations of Happiness self-study e-course. Maura, 4, letter U.com, where Maura is always for you.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. How'd you like it? How did you like it? I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody out there and also everybody who contribute to our Patreon page. You are really helpful to this show and we are grateful for your help. In case you're wondering, Patreon is a simple way for you to contribute to the podcast and get super cool exclusive rewards in return. I promise you will love the perks. Our Patreon page is at frederickby.com. That's Frederick with a C. buylikebabai.com and click Patreon in the header. The money is used to cover our production costs and enhancements. It is also used to cover our editing time and sharing to different podcast channels. You can contribute for as low as $1 and you can even choose your platform, either Podbean or Patreon.com. See ya next time.